Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay, but there's an internet problem in the shul. Okay, so we're learning Mishnah Rosh Hashanah, Parak Dalid, Chapter 4, Mishnah Gimel, Mishnah 3. Bar Rishayna, originally, Haya Halulav Nital B'Mikdash Shiva. The lulav, referring to the four species, lulav, esrek, adasim, and aravis, that we take every day on Sukkot. Originally, when we had the Beis Hamikdash, Haya Lulav Nital B'Mikdash Shiva. At the Beis Hamikdash, the lulav was taken for 7 days. Or Medina, and in the provinces, meaning everywhere outside of the Beis Hamikdash, Yom Echad, 1 day. According to Torah law, the obligation upon every individual to take lulav and esrog is only the first day of Sukkot. As the pasuk says, "Ulakachtem lochem b'yom harishon." You should take for yourselves on the first day the four species. At the Beis Hamikdash, it's 7 days because the Torah also says, "Usmak mifnei Hashem Elokeichem shavas yamin." You shall rejoice in front of Hashem, your God, 7 days. That is referring to take lulav and esrog, and lifnei Hashem, before Hashem, meaning at the Beis Hamikdash, it's 7 days. So that was the original Torah law. Shachar Beis Hamikdash, once the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, Hiskem Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Yochanan ben Zakkai instituted Sheilulav Nitol B'Medina Shiva Zecher LaMikdash, that the lulav should be taken everywhere for 7 days to remember what was done at the Beis Hamikdash. So the first day is the Torah obligation, and the second day outside of Eretz Yisrael, we treat it like the first day, because that's the question outside of Eretz Yisrael, which is really the first day, or what we call the first and the second. We treat them as a question, which one is the first day? So we treat them both as the first day in many ways. But the rest of Sukkot, or in Eretz Yisrael, after the first day, the rest of Sukkot is Omid Rabban. It's all rabbinic obligation to take lulav and esrog. That's because of this law that was instituted by Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai to take the lulav and esrog every day, everywhere, to remember what was at the Beis Hamikdash. And this is the reason why this whole Mishnah is being brought here, even though the Masechta is Rosh Hashanah, because of the fact that previously we learned about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, what he instituted regarding blowing shofar on Shabbos after the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. And now the Mishnayos are going to bring more examples of these laws instituted by Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. And the next part of the Mishnah says, V'shehei yom hanev kulei aser. And he also instituted that the entire day of waving should be forbidden. Now, what this is referring to is like this. When we had the Beis Hamikdash and we had sacrifices, there was, on the second day of Pesach, a meal offering from barley was brought on the second day of Pesach. It was called the Carbon Omer. The Omer was waved, similar to like we wave a lulav and esrog. That is how this sacrifice, this meal offering, before it was offered, was done. They also was waved. So therefore, the second day of Pesach, which was the day that the Omer was waved, it's called the Yom Hanef, the day of waving. Now, there is also a prohibition of the Torah called Chadash. One may not eat of the new grain that grew after Pesach without the Carbon Omer being brought. So once the Carbon Omer is brought on the second day, when we had a Beis Hamikdash, second day of Pesach, when we had a Beis Hamikdash, that is when that new grain that grew after last year Pesach, after last time we wrote the Carbon Omer, that grain now becomes permissible. Now, without a Beis Hamikdash, how does the new grain become permissible? The answer is it becomes permissible because once the daytime of the second day of Pesach arrives, we have a source in the Torah that says that basically without the Omer sacrifice being brought, when we can't bring the Omer sacrifice, then the new grain becomes permissible with the beginning of daytime in the second day. So without a Beis Hamikdash, what allows us to eat from the new grain? Without the Beis Hamikdash, what allows us to eat from the new grain is the beginning of the daytime of the second day of Pesach. With the Beis Hamikdash, we have to wait for the Omer carbon to become permitted in that new grain. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai instituted that instead of the beginning of the second day allowing you to eat from the new grain, the new grain will be forbidden the entire second day. Entire second day. Why did he institute that? And here's the reason. He instituted that because, as we said before, when we have the Beis HaMikdash, we have the Karban Omer, the new grain cannot become permissible, until the Omer offering is brought. Now, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was concerned. Mashiach is going to come. The Beis HaMikdash is going to be rebuilt. And this all is going to take place the second night of Pesach. That's what he was concerned about. The second night of Pesach. Maybe wondering, can Mashiach come then and the Beis HaMikdash be built? How's it going to be built? These are all different issues that we're not going to get into right now. But this Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai held. Mashiach could come the second night of Pesach. The Beis HaMikdash could be rebuilt, which means the next day we have to bring the Omer offering. Now, understandable, if this is what happens, things are going to be a bit tumultuous. And to be able to be ready to bring the Omer offering in the morning, as it would have been brought when the Beis HaMikdash was around and under circumstances when everything was in control, what's going to happen is the Omer offering is going to be brought much later in the day. Because at night, typically, where again, in times of the Beis HaMikdash, the barley for the Omer offering was harvested the night of Pesach, and it was a whole affair. It was a whole what to do, in the harvesting and the preparing of the flour. It was a lot involved. So that was done in times of the Beis HaMikdash. That was done the second night of Pesach. So by the morning, everything was ready to go. But if Mashiach and the Beis HaMikdash are going to come on the second night of Pesach, it won't happen so quickly to be able at night to get everything ready. It may even take a good part of the day for it to be ready, which means the Omer might not be offered until the end of the day, which means with the Beis HaMikdash back and the Karban Omer back, no one can eat from the new grain until the Omer offering is brought. Now, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was concerned with the following. People aren't going to be used to the fact that there's a Beis HaMikdash and an Omer Karban being brought. And they're going to say, last year, the year before, maybe the year before that too, once the second day of Pesach, the daytime of Pesach arrived, we were able to eat the new grain. So they're going to assume they can continue doing that. But now that we have the Karban Omer back, you can't do that. You have to wait for the Omer Karban to be offered. And therefore, in order to avoid any kind of future confusion, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai instituted the entire second day is forbidden. No one is going to think you can start eating the Omer offering at the beginning of the day. And my understanding is that the purpose of making forbidden the whole day is covering all possibilities. You know, if the Omer offering will be brought later on in the day, it could happen that a good part of the day is going to be forbidden until it's brought. So therefore, in order to cover all kinds of situations, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said that the entire day, second day of Pesach, the new grain is forbidden. Even though according to Torah law, without an Omer offering, the beginning of the second day, daytime of the second day allows you to eat. But he said no. In order to avoid confusion in the future, the entire second day from now on is forbidden. So that means when the Karban Omer offering comes back, people will not be eating before, because until now, the whole day they couldn't eat. And therefore, everything is going to be covered. Have a wonderful day.